Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys don't know me, I'm Isla. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about canaries. Now lately I've been doing a lot of pigeon videos. You guys might think like, oh, I love pigeons and doves, which I do, but I also like finches and canaries, and I do have a canary, so I would like to talk about them with you and how great they are. All right, let's get into it. So canaries today, they're domesticated, but originally they were from a group of islands and they were brought over to Europe in the 17th century. They were popular because of their singing, their looks, and so they were usually taken and kept in the courts, favored by kings. Monks started breeding them, and they only sold the males, surprisingly, because they liked their singing and they didn't want people to be like breeding them. Over time, they've bred them, and nowadays the singing type ones that we have, you will not find those in the wild. So there's like over 100 varieties of them. There's ones that are bred for basically their color, not so much their song. There's ones that are bred just for their type of song that they have. There's many different categories within that too. For each one, they have a certain type of song that's standard for them. There's ones that they're bred for their looks too, but they also have some song too. I don't know if you've ever seen the ones that are more rounded in the body, they're more plump, or the ones that have even look like they have a crest on their head, or the ones that are like pied, or different, just all types of things. There's even ones that are very bright red, the red factor canaries. They're one of the more of the show type color ones instead of the singing, but they need special food when they're molting just so that they can keep their red plumage. These ones are actually not like pure canary. In order for them to have gotten their red coloring, they were actually crossbred with the Venezuelan red siskin, which is very endangered nowadays, but back then they bred it so that they could introduce that gene into their pool, and nowadays that's how we have the red canary. First up, we're gonna talk about where you can get a canary. Where I've been around, like a lot of times I never see them in pet stores, especially like the chain stores like PetSmart, Petco. I just don't see them. I don't know why, but I always just see like zebra finches, maybe society finches, and just parakeets. So those seem to be the most common things, but you can find them from breeders if you're able to look online through Facebook. You can probably find some to contact that live near you. You can go to bird shows if you're lucky enough to live nearby the states where the OHPA bird fair goes on. I'm lucky I live in the state where they do have one of them. I think it's PA in Ohio. Usually there are a lot of canary breeders that go there too, so you'll find a good selection if you can go. And I guess the last option would just be if you actually can find them in a pet store. Little less easy to go, but that's actually where I got my canary from. I found him in a pet store a little further from where I live that they carry all sorts of things. They're mostly a aquatic store. They have all sorts of fish. They bring in a lot of large and random exotic animals too that they just have for sale randomly, and there's no rhyme or reason exactly for what they have. And so that I came in to that store and I saw they had a cage of canaries and they had it set up front because it was their new arrivals. They were pretty expensive too. I think they were like $100 around, and I saw them. I was like, oh, they have canaries, but I didn't get them that time. I came back several weeks later because I just had an afterthought, like I think I actually want to get a canary because I like their singing and I did want to have a canary just to listen to his singing, have that nice ambient background noise. So I went back and first I didn't see them and I was like, oh, maybe they sold them all out, maybe they got rid of them. But I was walking around the store and like in the back corner by like the reptiles, I found a little bird cage and there was 2 canaries left. They were shut into the corner, but well, they weren't fed a good diet. They just had seeds, but like those cheap seeds you find at like maybe Walmart, that's just literally mostly white millet, which is like so bad, like it has no nutrition. The one that I picked out, he had scaly leg mites, so his legs were all messed up and his nails were overgrown, which was really unfortunate. But I was looking for a male and I wasn't totally sure how to figure out like what's male, what's female, how to tell the difference. And I ended up asking the lady, and the lady didn't really know either. She was just like, probably that one. She pointed out the one that was more colorful. There was the other green one, and the one I picked out was like brown and white. And she was like, this one's probably a female because of the color. And I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't listen to her anyways because I just felt like like I wanted that one, the specific one. I just liked how he looked. I don't know, connected. And turns out he is actually a male, like I wanted, so it was all good. I had to treat him though for a long time for the mites, which was unfortunate, and his legs are still probably gonna be permanently messed up, but he's on a better diet now, so I think he's happier. I think he's healthier. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Turn on that bell notification so that you don't miss any future uploads from me. For our second point, I'm going to be talking about how you want to set up their cage. So ideally you do want one that's more long than tall. They're not parrots, so they will not climb necessarily on the bars. I mean, they might jump and cling on the side of it, but like they're not going to be climbing it. And they do like to fly. You want them to have space to fly from perch to perch. So longer one that has enough width that they can fly comfortably is good. And then you want to use, for the food bowls or the water bowls, ideally you do not want to use plastic. Plastic harbors bacteria, grows bacteria very easily. Even if you clean it, it still doesn't quite get everything because plastic is porous, so they get in the pores. So this is why bird owners, they like to recommend that you use either ceramic or stainless steel, depending on what you're feeding your canary. If you're feeding them a lot of fresh foods like I do, they are going to be flinging and throwing their food everywhere and outside the cage and all over your walls and stuff. So if you don't want to use like a bird cage net cover thing, I hate how they look. I don't know. I just don't like to use them on my cages. So instead I had to not use like a normal bowl that's just like open all over from the top, like just a normal bowl that you would see. I have these hooded ceramic bowls. I showed one that I had for my pigeon in a video a while ago. They work pretty good to help reduce the amount of food that is flung out. Now there's barely any food that he flings out, which is a lot more easier for me to clean up. So that's pretty good. And then next, after the bowls, you want some toys. They don't need a whole bunch of toys like parrots because they're not going to be chewing, destroying. They don't need that much mental stimulation, but just a couple toys is good to help keep them, make their environment look less dreary and encourage them to pick at it, interact with it a little bit. Mirrors, usually you don't want to use mirrors for birds. I'm not totally sure about canaries, how they do with them, but just on the safe side, I don't use mirrors. I probably wouldn't recommend using mirrors. Better either have another bird or you're the companion for your bird, so avoid those. Ropes should be fine because they're not a parrot, they don't chew on it. For the perches, you do want variety in the perches, so don't just have dowel perches, like just normal dowel, because that come with the cages. I know it's cheap, but don't use it because they'll get like bumblefoot because they never have variation in what they're standing on. So get ones that have even nudges, like carved. Like I've in my bird cage, the perch that came with it it's a dowel perch, but it's not just a plain even one. It has so many carvings and etchings in it that it provides that variability for their feet. But also you can buy the natural wood perches too, which is good. You want different sizes and thicknesses for their feet. You also do want to have a cuttlebone in there for them. Just provide it always. Just, you can get like a cuttlebone holder and just place it in there and it's pretty good. Just in case if they need the calcium, they'll eat it and then they have it instead of just having to wait around until you provide it. Also, you probably want to provide them with a dish of water that's for bathing. I'd probably just provide it every day. Just make sure it's always in the cage because they really do love to take baths. Like mine would take a bath every day. If I provided the water dish, he would always bathe in it. They are pretty clean birds. They like to take their baths, so just provide them with a dish. It could be just like literally a normal stainless steel dish that you use for anything and just put it with water. Make sure it's like not too deep though, that they won't drown, but just make sure that it's a little bit shallow and then they can splish around in it and that you change that every day. For the bedding at the bottom of the cage, literally they sell bedding specifically for that you use if you wanted to. You could use old newspapers, old school papers, you could use wood pellet, paper pellet, just whatever won't like fly around if the bird starts flying, that won't like come out of the cage. Like if you use like small animal bedding, paper bedding, that's not gonna work because it's probably gonna go everywhere, but solid pellets work pretty good and normal sheets of paper that you don't need anymore work pretty good too. So now we're gonna be talking about their diet. So a lot of people like to say, oh, canaries, they eat seeds and you can just feed them a seed mix. But no, I don't think any bird should be fed purely just seeds. Like it's not enough. I feel like it's not enough nutritionally, especially how they like people nowadays with parrots. You're supposed to feed them chop and canaries, they benefit from that too. So what I do, I literally just make a chop that I feed for my parrots parrots, I make sure that it's able to be eaten by my finches canaries too. So that's a mix of grains, chopped veggies, legumes, make sure they're cooked, make sure the grains are cooked too if they're too hard. What I mix into that is I mix a little bit of seeds and pellets into that. Mostly their food is the chop. So mostly they'll be eating the fresh foods and just a little bit of the seeds, and the pellets are there just to make sure that they get all their vitamins. By the way, just a quick heads up, if you're feeling generous and want to sprinkle some extra sunshine on my channel, you can totally make my day by clicking on that Buy Me Coffee link in the description box below. It's a fantastic way to get your name in the spotlight with a shout out at the end of my next video. Trust me, your support would absolutely mean the world to me. Thank you so much in advance. If you have a red factor canary, like I mentioned earlier, they will need special food while they're molting so that the new feathers grow in with a vibrant red color. They get their color from the food like how a flamingo gets their color from eating the shrimp. So for the canary, you want to feed it a lot of red things like carrots, apples, cherries. They even sell special formulas and foods that are meant for the red factor canaries during their time molting that you can buy that can just make it easier, but you can also provide your own and figure out what to use. They also have a supplement, I think, for the water. I forget what it's called that they use too. I think it's like a red dye that they can use too that might make things easier that you can put in their food also if you don't want to put in the water. For the seeds that I use, I don't feed these purely, but when you're picking out a seed mix, pick out one that has like the most variety of seeds. With any of my birds, if I'm using any seeds for them, I like to pick out mixes that have a lot of variety. This just helps to make sure that they get a lot of those nutrients and minerals and that they won't be deficient in anything. So make sure you pick out a good seed mix and make sure you pick out some high quality undyed. Don't get those colorful pellets because they add food dyes to them, which are not good for the birds. Get the ones that are just brown and ugly looking. Just get those ones because they don't have all those artificial dyes in them, and make sure that they're small enough that the canaries can eat them. For grit, you might see these in the pet stores, like they market them for, oh, this is grit for when they're molting, or this is grit for who knows what, whatever they market it for. I see them and it's kind of like, Well, canaries, they chew their seeds and they remove the hulls of them naturally. They don't really need grit for digesting their food. Like birds that would need it would be like chickens, pigeons, because they eat the seeds whole, they swallow them whole. That's why they need the grit, like they need the rocks to help crush it up in their stomachs and to digest the stuff. But canaries, parrots, they don't need that because they're able to chew the seeds up and process them before they even swallow them. So as long as you have the cuttle bone, you're not gonna need any grit. And also it can cause impaction too if you're getting the wrong kind of grit. I mean, if you really want to get some grit, get something that they can digest that's high in calcium if you're gonna use that instead of the cuttle bone, like oyster shell. But it's kind of unnecessary, so probably don't need it. Also, you might have seen supplements for birds like vitamins. They might market drops that you can put in their water or mix into their food. I would stay away from these. Usually you should not need vitamins for your birds as long as you're feeding them a good diet. Like I said, the chop mixed with a little bit of seeds and pellets should be substantial enough. You should not need the vitamins because a lot of times people end up overdosing them, or the bird like intakes too much of it somehow, and it can cause them to get poisoning because it's just really concentrated, the vitamins and stuff. That's why they should be eating the real food and getting the vitamins through that instead of the vitamin water. For food, for the canaries, they can also eat egg food. This is for the protein. Basically, it's just like boiled eggs. You just mash it up, chop it up. For them, shouldn't be provided every day with their food. This would be more like a 1 week to every 2 weeks. If they are raising young though, or laying eggs, then you do want to provide this every day because they do need those nutrients, the fat and the protein. If they're not, then they don't need it that much. They can have protein from like beans and lentils in their chop, which is okay too. Next, I'm going to tell you guys real quick how you can tell if yours is a girl or a boy. So usually you can look at their eyes, their face. Males, typically, the line where you see their beak and their eyes, it should be like straight practically. But the females, I'm pretty sure their eyes are slightly higher than where their beak is. Also, a more surefire way is take your bird, grab the bird and flip them upside down and just blow at their vent area, and you can see if the feathers feathers go completely away and there's just like a bald spot around there, then it should be a female. But if the feathers go away, but there's one spot where the feathers are they're a little bit longer than the rest, then it should be a male. Also, their songs, like their chirps will be slightly different. Males typically sing, females can sing, but usually they're just gonna be doing a standard chirp, and the males will be more so the ones that do a little bit chirping and mostly a bunch of singing. So what do you guys think? Are any of you guys considering adopting a canary after hearing everything? They really do have quite a personality. You'd be surprised, and they do make some interesting noises depending on how they're feeling or if you grab them a certain way. So let me know down in the comments below if you guys are planning on adopting a canary. And for those of you who have a canary or two, how do you guys like their singing? Let me know in the comments below. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys found it helpful. As always, I hope you guys have a nice day, and I'll see you on my next video. See you guys next time. Bye.